I'll share the two things you must include in your strategic offsite that will be game changers and will prevent you from wasting your time and money. Do you ever wonder why your strategic offsites sometimes feel like a whirlwind of activities with questionable results? Well, first you need to ask yourself, why is your company spending the time, money, and resources to get the leadership team together at a fancy hotel, a remote retreat for anywhere from a day to a full week? What's the expected return on investment on the tens of thousands to sometimes hundreds of thousands being spent? Well, most leaders would say the purpose of the retreat includes things like team building, seeing each other in person, especially if the team has been remote, inspiring leaders, teaching certain things through workshops, training and learning new skills as a group, celebrating wins, and giving awards. And this is all good stuff. Unfortunately, much like any conference you've been to, the lasting effects of those activities tend to have a half-life of about 15 days. So while attendees may appreciate the unique experiences of bonding with their coworkers, getting inspired and learning, these kinds of retreats are typically not as effective as they could be in terms of what you really want. So the reason you spend tens of thousands on your strategic offsite is likely because you want to get better results than you would have had you not spent the time, the money, the effort on the retreat. So if better results are what you really want, let me share two components that are must-haves for the most effective retreats. Number one component is you must get clear on the primary deliverable from your retreat. Do not shoehorn everything under the sun in this time you have together. The most impactful retreats I facilitated incorporate questions and a process that resulted in everyone having an understanding of the competitive playing field, everyone knowing exactly what the priorities are and why, everyone knowing what winning looks like at the end of the year and several years out for the organization. The projects and initiatives are identified with owners and due dates, and team leaders have identified their own objectives and measures for success for the teams they lead. And the best deliverable is if team leaders can quickly and effectively communicate their priorities, initiatives, and the strategic thinking behind them. One client even went so far as to give each attendee $1,000 in $100 bills. And as people presented their team's outcomes and priorities, they showered them with the bills based on how compelling and comprehensive their team's strategic priorities were and the thinking behind it. And I believe the winner went home with maybe $8,000. So who says strategy can't be fun? That being said, a capable facilitator can help you achieve this type of a process in half a day or over the course of a few days, depending on the team size and other activities planned. I consistently receive feedback from leadership teams about how understanding each other's priorities and how and why they think about those priorities has a positive impact on culture and improved collaboration, which ultimately led to more team trust, better results, and less frustration throughout the year. At the end of retreats, I also hear a lot of unsolicited comments like, "This retreat is so much better than others we've had in the past." When I ask why that is, attendees say it's because of the clarity on the actions and with clear ownership and clear due dates. And this is because a lot of you put your retreats together and you have general high-level ideas of things you should do, but then literally there's not one deliverable, not one person responsible to do any of those things. So you're kind of back at square one. If anything, you actually have more anxiety because you know there's a lot that needs to be done, but you're not clear on who's going to do what. So I encourage you to prioritize getting clarity in these areas as the primary deliverable for your retreat. It will be the most significant accomplishment of your retreat. Now, all this being said, helping everyone get this level of clarity still doesn't solve for the half-life problem I shared. That takes us to the second must-have for an effective strategic retreat. And that is, have a plan for what happens after the retreat. You simply will not focus on your commitments with the same level of clarity and priority as you did during the retreat, unless you have a plan and process in place to regularly review and refine your priorities as a leadership team. It's just not going to happen. My favorite analogy here, it's like going to a trainer who lays out a plan for you that if you follow it, you're going to get to your dream state of fitness within 1 year. If you walk out of that session, you're probably highly motivated, you've got a plan on your smartphone or a piece of paper, and you think you can achieve your health goals because it's all laid out. Well, statistics show that 43% of people give up on their fitness goals within a month of setting them. Statistics also show that most organizations only achieve 10% of their strategy. So with the fitness example, that's something that they choose to do to make their lives better, and in some cases will even extend their lives and give them a better quality of life. So our most limited resource, time on this earth, can be extended by exercising, taking care of our health. And even in that scenario, people do not put the effort in. Most of them give up within the first couple months. So I hate to break it to you, CEOs, but the execution of your organization's strategy is probably not going to be as important or impactful to your team as extending their lifespan. So how are you going to beat the odds? If most give up on extending their own lifespan, how are you going to get people focused on executing on strategy? So the key is you need a process to beat those odds and ensure everyone is continually engaged in executing the strategy after the retreat. So what can this process look like? Well, this means reviewing your results and progress on your projects and initiatives regularly as part of your team meeting cadence. It means incorporating a process for changing priorities as things change in the real world, and holding each other accountable and even providing additional support and resources when needed as things don't go as planned. I will share with you, I am not a fan of quarterly goal setting, which so many of popular management styles developed back in the 80s and 90s still espouse and cling on to. So much happens in 90 days. These are either internal changes to the organization or externally with the rapid development of technology, which disrupts consumer behavior, competitive advantage, and markets at a pace that has never been seen before. So priorities can and should shift based on the reality of what's going on at any given time. Quarterly goals tend to be too rigid, and people are emotionally motivated to finish what they started, what they committed to in the retreat 5 months ago, 2 months ago, 1 month ago, because they've already invested time versus pivoting to new opportunities that can drive even better results. Your process needs to include a simple way to collaboratively reprioritize regularly, if needed, with your leadership team as the reality changes, even if it means scrapping something that was really important 60 days ago. I'll share some of these more agile and effective frameworks in future videos. So imagine if your last retreat resulted in everyone working collaboratively together to get clear on what winning looks like for your organization, what winning looks like for the team they lead, how everyone's efforts support each other, and what specific projects or initiatives they have to accomplish by when. Imagine if these priorities were reviewed, refined, and prioritized based on current conditions every few weeks until the next strategic offsite. Do you think a process like this would help you achieve more of your strategy than in years past? How much more? 5%, 10%? What does 10% more profit look like for you? I want you to go ahead and do the math. What does 10% more profit look like for you? Hopefully that number, if you write it down, is at least 10x of what you plan on investing, getting your next retreat right, and getting the process that follows the retreat right. If you incorporate these two components of prioritizing the main deliverable and having a plan and process in place after the retreat, you will be able to get measurably better results from your efforts and better execute your strategy. You just will.